You know those stories people whisper at night? Urban legends. They stick around because there's always that tiny part of you that's afraid they might be true. Let's talk about a few, and you tell me which one gets under your skin. First up, the last train home. Pretty much every major city has a version of this story. It's about a mysterious train that pulls into the station long after the last scheduled service. It looks normal, it sounds normal, but it's a ghost on the timetable. They say if you're desperate enough to get on, you'll find the other passengers are off. They don't talk. They don't even look at each other. Just stare straight ahead like mannequins. There's a famous account from a man who claims he accidentally boarded this train. He was exhausted after a long day and drifted off to sleep. When he woke up, he wasn't at his stop. In fact, he wasn't anywhere he recognized. The train was gone. He was standing on an empty platform in a city that was completely silent. The buildings were there, the cars were parked on the streets, but every single person had vanished. It was like the entire world had been frozen in time. He wandered for what felt like hours, trying to find a single sign of life. When he finally found his way back to the familiar parts of his own city, a huge shock was waiting for him. Only a few hours had passed for him, but his phone and the date on the newspapers showed that 3 full days had gone by. He'd lost 3 days of his life. And the weirdest part? No one has ever captured this last train on camera. It exists only in stories. Next, let's talk about the silent call. This one is particularly chilling because it involves something we all carry in our pockets. The legend goes that you might get a phone call, and when you look at the caller ID, it's your own number calling you. Most people would be too freaked out to answer, right? Well, the story says if you do pick up, you won't hear a voice at first. All you'll hear is breathing. Slow, heavy, uneven breathing on the other end of the line. One woman shared her story online. She said she got a call from her own number and ignored it. But then it rang again immediately. Annoyed and a little curious, she answered. At the moment she said hello, the breathing stopped. A chilling, raspy voice whispered a single sentence. I'm already inside. She dropped the phone and ran out of her house, calling the police from a neighbor's place. The officers did a full sweep of her home. They found nothing. No broken windows, no forced locks, no sign of a break-in whatsoever. But from that night on, she was never truly alone. Every single night, she'd hear faint footsteps coming from her hallway, even though she lived by herself. The sound of someone pacing just outside her bedroom door. Finally, there's the one about the reflection that blinks. We look in mirrors every day, trusting them to show us what's there. But this legend says that mirrors don't always reflect reality. It warns you. If you stand in a completely dark room and stare into a mirror for long enough, something will go wrong. Your reflection, the person looking back at you, will blink just a fraction of a second after you do. It's a tiny, almost unnoticeable delay. A teenager decided to test this out as a joke with his friends. He went into the bathroom, turned off the lights, and stared into the dark mirror. He started counting. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Nothing happened. He was about to give up, but he decided to wait until 30, and that's when it happened. His reflection in the dark smiled. A wide, unnatural grin. But he wasn't smiling. He was frozen in terror. We screamed and punched the mirror, shattering it into 100 pieces. But as the shards fell to the floor, each one reflected that same horrifying smile. To this day, he avoids looking at his own reflection. He says that sometimes, in the corner of his eye, he can still see it blinking just a little too late. Urban legends spread like wildfire because there's no way to definitively prove they're fake. They prey on our deepest fears, the fear of the unknown, of being alone, of not being able to trust our own senses. So, which one of these stories got to you the most? Let me know in the comments, and tell me if you're brave enough for a part 2. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to subscribe for more strange stories. Sleep tight.